Descent into Darkness, a Call of Cthulhu campaign. Hello, and welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign, Descent into Darkness. This is the second episode of our third season. My name is Travis, and I'll be your keeper tonight. Let's get an introduction from our investigators.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Detective Jack Glover, a fairly big but mild-mannered man who's been a police detective for numerous years, and he accepted a request from Logan Terry to help out some of his friends, quote-unquote, and that's what I'm doing here.
I'm Brandon, playing Dr. Wallace Andrews, a medical doctor who's now taking steps into the deeper end of occult and supernatural, and I'm helping to banish some summoned being that haunts a property that we have inherited from Merriweather.
I am Lance Monroe, a museum curator of the occult that everybody absolutely loves. Nobody has any problems with whatsoever. He is looking to add to his collection of occult belongings and dig
Shut up.
dig deeper into the lore.
And I'm John, playing James Whitmire, former smuggler, current private investigator, and all-around swell guy.
All right, so the world is a dark and meaningless place. Or so it must seem to you, Mr. Whitmire. Your mouth tastes like the underside of Texas roadkill. Your body feels like it must have been used as God's personal sieve, and your eyes ache well enough that looking too far to the right or left, up or down, causes like a jab of pain to lance into the center of your head. Even thinking about that cursed lobster roll you bought yesterday causes your stomach to clench in on itself like a tight fist. You had intended on making your way home yesterday, but the emerging situation became so immediate that you found yourself at the nearest sanctuary, which was the offices of A&W Private Investigators. Once there, you became captive in the small facilities. However, now that morning's come around, it appears the worst of your affliction has run its course, leaving you but a shell of a man. Can you make a constitution roll for me?
Oh, no.
Hearty inhale.
Nice. Push it.
You're like 27 or something, right, aren't you?
Push the extreme success.
I could do better.
26.
26, yeah, so it's just all the illnesses and hangovers, they just wash away by the time the sun comes up again, so you find yourself feeling pretty good comparatively.
Maybe not craven lobster rolls, though.
But in any case, as you're gathering your wits, the front door of the office with its fogged glass and stenciled letters opens, and in walks your partner, Dr. Andrews, with the bright, colorful Mr. Monroe behind him.
What are you guys talking about when you walk in?
I'll, run my fingers through my hair and try and make it as presentable as I can.
Straighten your
try and
collar.
straighten my collar, and my, try and brush out any wrinkles in the jacket that I'm hoping that at least Dr. Andrews doesn't notice is the same one I was wearing when I left yesterday.
Bless you. Give your teeth a quick brush with your finger in the sink or something.
Yep. Just, rinse it out and head out and put on the best
Whitmire
the best
face
lie
you can.
that I can, pretty much. Of you guys, you're finally here. Good morning, Dr. Andrews.
But in your memory echoes the warning from Dr. Andrews yesterday when you bought the lobster roll from the cursed street side vendor. Hey, don't eat those things.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little too far away from the ocean.
Yeah.
And you brought Lance with you. Is there a new case for us to take?
Yes, as a matter of fact, and then I'll fill him in on what's taken place at the reading of Merryweather's will. And we've inherited some property, but as it turns out, something haunts it that we need to find a way to banish. Something murderous and dark.
So while he's explaining that, my face will start to slacken. You see the uncounted horrors passing before my eyes. But by the end, it's some property is who doesn't buy possessed property these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And give him a
Some
kind of
finger
a fake
guns.
laugh.
Yeah. This should be a good one. This one was given to us by Merryweather himself.
Monroe says with an odd gleam in his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, the past horrors of Peru start to pop up at the name or mention of Merryweather's name. Oh no!
Joyfully hunting possessed children.
Yep. As well.
Yeah, so
When is the reading?
It
No,
already
you missed it.
happened. Yeah.
Oh, it already. Oh,
Yeah, and I'll show him the stuff that there was a deed to the land and a journal, another ancient Anglo-Saxon book, and then the little wooden chest with the it was like a little sarcophagus with hieroglyphics on it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to let you know, just so you're aware, but Merryweather's son was none too pleased about the way the will reading went, and I think he'll be giving us some trouble at some point. So be on the lookout for that.
yeah. When your father gives everything to a bunch of people you don't know, and I don't imagine that you're going to be very pleased at it. But
He has
we'll deal with him as he comes.
Yeah, he definitely strikes me as a boy who's not used to not getting his way.
All right, Dr. Andrews, let me
Time
give
to
you some
uncover some dirt on him.
classic Whitmire thinking. I like it. To give you some context for the last couple of months, since your encounter with the dimensional lurker that wounded you and your encounter with the secret population of snake folk and their dark designs with mankind, your grasp on reality got a little shaky. So since June, since the end of that investigation, you think you've mostly sorted it out by reconnecting with your Catholic faith. However, even now, if you concentrate, you can see those little ghostly gossamer lines that surround everything and, you've come to associate with time. So you have, in the last couple of months, this is something else you did with your investigator development phase, was experimented with a kind of manipulation of these ghostly strands and have learned, quite by accident, that you can nudge them at will. One day you were going about the business of organizing your personal effects. Maybe you moved into a new apartment or something. And on most occasions you think nothing of such mundane tasks, but occasionally the routine can chafe. 1 out of every 10 times, I say. And on that most routine of days, you gave these gossamer webs a flick. Like out of frustration with your mangled hand, time seemed to slow. And what normally might take you the better part of the morning was done in, less than an hour. It would have been a neat trick if you did not then become also aware of some other place.
Mm-mm.
It was a sensation similar to looking at a photograph of a place with which you are intimately familiar, where the two-dimensional image conveys a greater three-dimensional depth, and sometimes even higher dimensions are recalled if it brings back nostalgic memory, right? But this new sensation seems to hint at behinds and beyonds and beneaths and arounds that don't quite coalesce into something you can define, right? Nevertheless, you're left with a deep sense of disquiet, like an awareness of an open door in a dark room. Furthermore, after your unique experience, where you did everything where time was slowed, your entire body was sore, almost like you'd worked out strenuously. And you also broke out in a terrible sweat when things seemed to come back to reality. Mm-hmm. And being a doctor, you measured your body temperature at 101.6 Fahrenheit. The heat dissipated in due course, although the soreness lingered for the next couple of days. So I believe if you look at your character sheet, since you decided to research that spell, you should have a spell in your character sheet called Manipulate the Strands of Time, and that gives you some of the rules for how it works.
Ah, I see. Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of in the back of your head while you're talking with Whitmire there. You can see them. If you focus on them, they really pop out to you. You're aware if you're distracted of them, but if you're focused on something else, then it will kind of fade to the background.
Okay.
But that's the sense that you get. But despite his successful Constitution roll, he does look dehydrated, in your opinion.
Okay.
So if you wish, you could do some doctoring and throw out a medicine roll. However, dehydration is not as well understood in the 20s as it is now, so it will be a hard medicine roll.
Needs himself some alcohol, maybe some coffee.
Some hair of the dog. That's what all doctors recommend. And a pack of Lucky Strikes.
Well, blended lobster roll.
You look fine to me.
That's how 1920s males all look.
Okay.
Yeah, you just need some fresh air.
Mm-hmm. Walk around a bit.
Yeah. And try to stay away from any fluids for the next 24 hours.
Thanks, Doc.
Take a little cocaine, get you feeling right.
I think I'm going to ignore your advice, though.
You know a old family remedy for.
I don't know what the hell that was.
No, that's literally what it would be, because this would be knowledge that isn't in literature yet, but some groups would have it, and it's basically just a sugary, salty drink, Gatorade, to treat dehydration. It's just not known that you need that particular combination.
Yeah, it was a weird taste your grandpa had or something, where you'd mix just water, sugar, and salt or something.
But it's basically been your hangover cure for as long as you've been drinking. So from 8 on, you've had this homemade Gatorade cure.
Well, when you work in the bootlegging business as long as I did, I'm sure that you pick up some pretty weird advice, and this one just happened to stick.
Yeah.
I seem to remember watered down vinegar being an old hangover cure.
There were a few of them. It's like the absorption, the glucose puts water in, it absorbs it in your gut, right? So it kind of stays there a little bit.
Yeah, there's probably other stuff that's added to it as well, right? There's probably something spicy. Maybe a raw egg is tossed in or something like that. But the basic gist of it is
water, raw egg, salt, sugar.
Yeah.
What do you call it, Whitmire?
I mean, it'd probably be, we'll call it
tonic.
I like that, the Miskatonic tonic.
There you go.
Okay, so I think at this point the plan was to meet with Detective Glover at the ever-present O'Lafferty's. Is that the name of the place?
Yeah.
We could just change it each time. O'Sullivan's.
Well, as each time he nudges a thread, we can change it.
You're in a different world, yeah. So you were to get Whitmire and then go on to meet with Glover to figure out what you guys were going to do for the day, which we had some preliminary ideas. But let's rewind time a little bit and go to the beginning of the day. We'll bounce over to Detective Jack Glover, where he owns a modest house with your wife, I take it, in South Boston. Any children?
Probably. They might be.
Grown or?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
And that's if we're even, because in true Columbo fashion, I think the wife should always remain off.
Yeah, so she's out that morning.
Yeah, she's got something to do with her friends or something early in the morning.
All right, so can you paint us a picture of Glover's morning?
All right, I think because he's having to fend for himself, he's in his tank top and boxers, smoking on his cigar, and in between puffs, he'll occasionally set that down in an ashtray, and he's like eating from essentially like oats,
Right.
like that he's cooked on a stove. He's just like eating right out of the pan.
All
He
right.
probably has socks on.
Of course. Sign of a true detective. Yeah, it's during this, when you've gotten about halfway through your ration of oats, that you have a solid knock at your front door.
Yeah, I'll put the oats down, put the cigar in my mouth, and I'll, just a minute, I'll be right with you. And I'll throw on some trousers, and I'll walk over to the door while I'm pulling up the suspenders,
Gotcha.
open it.
I picture it perfectly. So the person calling this morning turns out to be Sergeant Logan Terry, looking sharp in his uniform. He's a barrel-chested fella with a ruddy complexion, although he's appearing a bit flustered this morning. But he's like, Glover, sorry I couldn't get back to you yesterday. The recruits, I'm neck deep in them. I got to get it sorted out before the whole damn city burns down.
I understand. I know how it is. What is it? Is this into summer?
Yeah, August 18th. Yeah.
Into summer
19th.
always starts getting crazy.
You're telling me.
I'll
Anyhow,
invite him in for sure.
Oh yeah, he comes in. I only got a few minutes to spare, but I wanted to get back to you about your question I got via telegram about the boys I got you involved with. Well, I can say they're solid enough. I mean, they're part of the same fraternal organization that I am, and they don't generally let in, yahoos as far as I'm aware. But
Oh, that's right.
Monroe, he's a bit like nails on chalkboard on first impression. I get that, but don't let the apparent buffoonery fool you. I think there's more to him than I anticipated. Dr. Andrews, I could say he's solid. Yeah, he and I had an understanding from the get. Monroe, we came about a little bit later. The one I'm not too sure about is Whitmire. I don't know if you know, but
I heard stories from from Davy over in what is it, like the bootlegging section? I don't know the damn term that we'd use back then.
I think, yeah. That said, I don't think he's working in Boston, at least not the old gig. He's doing something else if he is. And all three of them helped me out with a problem a while back. But one thing I can say is whatever those boys are involved in ain't going to be like sticking your fingers in grandmother's apple pie.
Well,
Come on, it's a saying.
yeah. Listen, Logan, I got nothing but respect for you. I mean, we came up together, but I think your read on these people are kind of off. Sure, Monroe's the loud, annoying Nancy here, but that doctor, I think, is more off than all of them combined, probably. He looked me dead in the eye and with a straight face started asking if I believe in, or stating that he believes in ghosts and supernatural here. That we have a potential tie-in to a murder that's over 40 years old now. It's been a cold case out of New York, so I've got some people looking into that. But your boy Rupert wasn't above the level either. Here, I think they're all a little bit off their kilter here.
A little.
Well, if you find something, then we got to pursue the full extent of the law. You let me be the first to know.
I plan on it. Like I said, we got this murder out of New York. Very cruel, kind of like the stuff that's been popping up lately around here. Looked like a ritualistic killing. I got a photo coming in of it from the crime scene, but apparently some guy had his organs removed with someone's hand, tongue ripped out, and satanic symbolisms carved into them. So I got that arriving. I might even just skip town and go pick it up personally at whatever post office is between us and there.
Whereabouts did that happen in New York? Did it say?
I believe it did, because it made papers. He was murdered in New York.
Say by the Hudson River.
Yeah, well, the body was found on the banks of the Hudson, but they don't think that was the place it happened, right? None of blood?
Yeah, like it was moved, but dumped in the Hudson. But for Logan Terry, he's just like, immigrants. You're going to have all these weird types of murders when you're dealing with those sort.
I forget how much did I know of like a chain, like of the other people that had been dying.
Oh, here in
Because I don't know if they are like read the parts out. Not Boston, but like from the summoning.
Well, let's do some backstory for you. Let's start from the position that they split up their detective work, kind of like how modern policing does, where you pick like one type of thing that you're working on. What would be Glover's deal?
Oh, he's homicide.
Homicide, yeah. So you definitely would have been aware of escapes your Mueller's enemy, Charlie Murphy's uncle.
Oh,
the name's not coming.
Dooley?
Dooley, yeah, Mr. Dooley. How could I forget? Yeah. It just was not in your precinct, so you didn't do the investigation yourself, but you, of course, read it because you make a point to know what's...
No, I was referring to Rupert Merriweather's journal that was read off where he was going through a list of...
Oh, that people that died?
Yeah, that were associated with the summoning. So, like, because I'm going on the assumption that all this Ooga Booga ghost and goblins type stuff is pure fiction.
Comes
and
back to the oldest story in the book,
and it's all pointing to Rupert Merriweather as the only living survivor up until a couple months back.
Yeah. Well, none of the names that were at the end of the journal have been tied to any murders that you have any knowledge about, apart from the one you just recently got.
Okay.
So, and there have been murders that bear similarities.
So then I'll just be going with that there's maybe something bigger going on than... Yeah, so I think there's something bigger, possibly tied together. I think we might have a satanic cult operating.
Jeez, people need to go to church.
And apparently they have enough reach to where going out of state, I mean, New York ain't too far away, but going out of state ain't safe. And they've apparently been operating for at least 40 years.
Well, if you find something good on these guys, that's going to help you out with your problem. But remember, you're supposed to be on suspension. If your name comes up in any logs or you go through the official channels, that's not going to help you at all.
I know. And it was all friends of a friend type of thing, so I think I should be good there, hopefully.
Well, need anything else? I got a boatload of new guys to get all sorted out.
Nah, sorry for bugging you. I just wanted to keep you on the up and up. I got some oats if you haven't had breakfast yet.
Yeah, he takes a spoonful. Put
them in his pocket.
I'll eat that later. That's what they did in 1920. A guy would carry a boiled egg and a pinch of salt in his pocket back then.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's still in the shell. You just crack it. It's all good. It's self-contained.
All right. So yeah, that wraps up your interviewing Logan Terra, and he departs to wherever, which means you are to get ready and meet the suspects.
Yeah.
At O'Lafferty's for
yeah.
breakfast.
I'll get dressed how I usually do. My kind of oversized trench coat and decent suit, but not anything that'd be considered formal in this era. Just passing.
Okay.
And I'll head on down there. I kind of want to maybe not stake it out, but not just go right in. Wait for them to show up, see who they show up with, if they do anything weird or...
Yeah. Okay, for the other three of you, is there anything you wanted to do in between being at the office and going to O'Lafferty's? And then how are you getting there? My assumption would be Whitmire's old reliable vehicle.
Yeah, that'll work.
If I remember right, O'Lafferty's wasn't too far from my museum, and I actually wanted to stop by and torment the bookseller of Orion's for some Egyptian resources, hieroglyphic resources.
I see the
While
ear
he's
is healing
doing that,
nicely.
I'll get the ingredients for my Miskatonic tonic.
Okay. Miskatonic tonic. Here's all ales. Anyhow.
Yeah, just try and pop in and see if he has anything on Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Okay, so you get in Whitmire's car, and you're like, can we make a stop over here? And he's like, oh, that's cool. I got to hit the corner store and get some things.
Well, I figured I shouldn't need a car ride there because I live...
Yeah, if you want to walk separately.
Yeah, I can just walk down.
All right. Well, in your case, when you go into Orion's, which he has just opened, probably his first customer, there's this phenomena that occurs that you have not yet gotten tired of, where you don't think you've ever seen somebody go so white as when you walk in and Lamar the things that he was holding fall from suddenly nerveless fingers. He goes sheet white, and he's like, Monroe, what are you doing here?
Oh, my good friend, I just came to get some reference materials. I know that this is the kind of thing that you might have in your collection.
We might need a medium at the house.
I was given some artifacts to try to translate some Egyptian hieroglyphics on, and I was hoping you might have some reference material that I may not have myself.
Okay, when you lay it out, and that sounds relatively mundane, at least by occultist standards. He exhales a big sigh of relief, and he's like, "Oh, right, Egyptian. Yes, come over here." And he kind of points you out to the section of his store that is for that sort of stuff. So he does have books on Egyptian hieroglyphs. He also has, sort of cheap knockoff artifacts that replicate some of the things that Egyptian used in ceremonies or their symbols. Also carved figurines of, different Egyptian gods and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, while we're looking through the Egyptian hieroglyphic books, I'll ask him if he's heard anything on djinns and how to trap them.
Oh, he suddenly gets alarmed again. And but go ahead and make me an occult roll for your guy.
All right, occult. Oh, wrong tab.
And we'll see how he does.
Normal.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, it would have been the first one. I don't know why it rolled twice.
And your fingers are in fantasy grounds mode, maybe?
Yeah. And I probably tapped it a second time because when the little pop-up thing comes up,
Okay, so he also passed his occult roll, and you get deep into a discussion where you're kind of filling each other's gaps in, right? Like you can kind of take up where he leaves off. But the gist is a djinn is like an ancient Arab entity. It's like pre-Islamic. In Islam itself, in the Quran, there would have been 3 rational beings created by God, right? Angels created from like fire, humans created from clay, and the jinn created from smoke or air, right? And in that context, in both those contexts, they're not inherently an evil entity. However, from like 1001 Arabian Nights and what have you, that it has been bound up in this sort of bargain thing, right? Like it either grants wishes or it's like you give me something and it's going to cost you your soul.
Monkey's paw type thing.
Yeah. They're in the Islamic faith, they're not like a free agent like humans are, right? So they serve some purpose under God. And one of the things that is spoken about is that they actually seek to prolong their life here on Earth by starting families with other humans and what have you. It's an interesting detail that most people don't know about the jinn. And of course, you guys flesh out the different categories. Like you have the ifrit, and you have a few different types that have a tendency to be more evil in the literature that you're aware of than others. So that's kind of where you just have a jinn. You don't know what kind of type he's referring to, if that even matters in this case. Knowing Meriwether, there's likely to be something,
of course,
that will change. But you could say between the two of you, the common theme is that they're a powerful entity that does kind of deal in these granting of power, and that's where you guys end up after 20, 30 minutes of conversation.
Okay. Yeah, if he has any books on it, I'll purchase those along with any of the ones that have actual Egyptian hieroglyphics and stuff like that for references.
What's your cash limit, your spending limit for a day?
Cash limit, that's in possessions, right?
Yeah.
Cash is $4.78. Spending level is $10.
So you can buy one or the other of those topics and not have to deduct it from your cash. But if you go for both, you'll have to deduct $5 from your cash.
Okay. Yeah, I'll deduct $5 from my cash and take both so that we have them for reference in breakfast.
So his guard kind of dropped a little bit when you guys were in the nuts and bolts of a deep occult conversation, but
that's how we hook him every time.
But yeah, he does. He's like bagging it up, and you can see the question appear in his mind, on his face. The struggle not to ask the question. He's like, oh, I hesitate to ask, Mr. Monroe, what have you gotten involved in this time?
To be quite honest, I'm not entirely sure myself.
Powerful mediums such as yourself would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, we've been kind of handed a case where someone believes that they summoned a Djinn many years ago that caused several murders that we are currently investigating whether or not it's still around, and if possible, how we may be able to either bind it or stop it from continuing to wreak havoc.
I don't know what to say to that, but
Yeah.
I am not surprised at what you have just told me.
Well, if you would like to join us on this, and
No.
your knowledge would be more than welcome,
Nope.
even if it was just a matter of
Nope.
consulting.
Roll persuasion.
No, I have some big clients coming in the next couple of weeks. I just couldn't possibly get away. Did you want to try to persuade them?
Yeah, we'll toss out a persuade. Not necessarily
We'll
to
go
have
for
him.
hard this time. Hard.
Not necessarily to have him join us, but
be available.
be
to look
available
into
for
that.
Maybe
to
just also drop the address casually.
Yeah, right.
yeah. But yeah, more like have him set out feelers and
Right.
see if he can get any information. Wait. Oh, why did it do that? Yep, I'm still double tapping. There we go. So like this seems like it's something entirely up your alley, sir. And I'm not asking you to actually participate in any of the rituals or anything along those natures, but if
We
you could
put
do
you
us
at risk
a really
on
good favor and help us just keep an ear out for any source material, any books that might help us on the subject, we greatly appreciate it. And I'll leave him an extra few dollars.
Well, yes, I suppose I could help when I can, in the way I can, and not one little bit more.
I don't I want to see the Djinn. I
But
don't want to see
that's
the
his
house.
agreement, basically.
Of course,
to
of
be
course. It
involved.
never intended to use you in any ill manner. But given your interests, I thought that maybe just a little bit of understanding could go between us, and that if you happen to come across anything in the circles that you deal with that could assist us, then we'd greatly appreciate it.
Well, I am at your service.
We definitely don't want you to head out to the abandoned farmhouse.
All right. Did you want to leave him with any thread that he should look into, or just a general?
For now, until we get a little bit more
Okay.
knowledge, just have him kind of feel out for rituals on sealing or
Yeah.
anything like that. Any particulars around malicious Djinn
Weaknesses.
activities? Yeah,
Right.
things of those nature.
Ways to ward against them, like protection type stuff.
All right. So Lance leaves Orion's with the Eastern-sounding door chime ringing in your ears, and that sense of satisfaction that you can only get from pulling the innocent into the blasphemous darkness.
What is after Lance leaves? Was his name? Was it Lamar?
Yeah.
What is Lamar doing for like maybe the immediately after
He has
Lance gets out
he
of
has
sight?
kind of a silly smile on his face that slowly just fades away into a blank, horrified expression.
What did I just agree to?
All right, so Mr. Whitmire, you stopped by the store to get your ingredients for Miskatonic Tonic, which, of course, are readily available. Was there anything else you were picking up besides that before you and Andrews carry on to O'Lafferty's?
I think that probably do it. I'm not a big smoker, so although the habit is probably growing at this point
Right.
with all the extra stress and everything that we've been running into. So, yeah, as we'll say, I'll pick up some tobacco. Some,
Okay, are you a cigarette
rollies.
smoker?
Yeah,
Okay.
as for
Gotcha.
some just rolling tobacco.
Does Andrews encourage that choice this morning, considering his bout with...
Yeah, because it's known to help with stomach issues. Yeah.
Oh, soothes the stomach. Good choice. All right, so to the O'Lafferty's Cafe, a well-trod establishment by this investigative group, or at least those who are still alive. the cook you know by name, Steve Bailey. He greets you guys when you come in, and that's where you're off, somewhere somewhat out of sight, keeping an eye on him. And so you see Andrews and Whitmire arrive in a car, and then sometime later Monroe walks up. But
don't suppose we could roll a spot hidden to see if we can.
Yeah, let's. But I'll give you a bonus on your stealth roll though.
Okay. Bonus. Number of dice 1.
2.
2.
Yeah, I was doing it that way for a while, but it's. Oh, yeah. Although you never can tell with that Whitmire. He's pretty tricky. I know a cop when I see one.
Yeah.
So it's a no from Monroe and Andrews. Whitmire, you want to put a spot hidden out there?
Oh, I did.
Oh,
Whitmire.
Yep, there's Whitmire.
Oh,
So just rolled one and go to light it and see
There's a
this
cop.
obvious lawman walking along.
no.
Especially since they've never met. This could be interesting.
Yeah.
No, he probably this is what I think it is, because he's been busted and probably brought in.
yeah.
He recognizes my cigar smoke.
Okay. Yeah, so in the case of the tie where you both got an extreme, it goes to the higher skill rating. So it does mean James did indeed spot you.
Yeah, so he might not know what I look, but there's something about the cop station. There's a cop
Right.
around type of.
Yeah, so you smell a cop, Whitmire.
All right. Well, I apologize. Where are we right now? Like, are we inside, outside?
So we'll say that this is where you're coming from outside to in. So and you see
And he
Monroe
was
walking
already
from
in there?
down the street. No, he's out somewhere watching your guys' arrival.
Yeah, so
Oh,
you're
okay.
getting like real like back at
so
the hair type.
You catch the whiff of like cigar smoke that just reminds you of being at a cop station here in Boston.
Maybe you even have like memories of like a voice talking in like a nearby area, talking about a murder case or something.
And now you're scanning around, looking for a person who looks out of sorts. So we're at that moment, I suppose, where you realize he's about to make eye contact with you, Glover, as he's scanning around. So
I think I was kind of like maybe sitting someplace nearby, like a coffee shop or something. I don't know what we got near here. Maybe I just on
they
a
got
park
like those
bench.
newsstands and all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
or maybe I'm shooting talking to like a newsie, and I'm kind of sitting there reading a newspaper or standing reading a newspaper, and I'm looking over the edge at Lafferty's,
Yeah.
and I see him looking at me, and I'll just give him a wink
Okay.
and kind of like a grin.
Yeah, but you just know the look of a cop, and he gave you a wink and a grin when you made eye contact with him. But anyhow, you're standing right next to Andrews. You guys were waving a hand to Monroe as he was coming down the street there in his peacock suit. But yeah, you're reasonably sure there's a cop across the street, and that's never a good thing in your experience.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it to you guys. Well, Andrews, you didn't notice this, of course, so you're reaching for the door,
Yeah.
right, and heading in, I presume.
Mhm.
So it depends if you want to do anything at all about that, Whitmire.
Well, and we are on the up and up at this point, and don't suspect that any of my illegal dealings
I've caught up.
should be coming into play at this point. So
Plus,
I will point it out that looks like we're still in the sights of the police, though.
But probably while he's doing that, I'll be paying or saying goodbye to the newsie, and I'll put the paper under my arm and start,
cut across the road.
looking for a break in the traffic or whatnot to start heading their way.
So yeah, when you're telling Andrews that and he pauses to look around, this person you think is a cop actually cuts across the road and is heading up on the sidewalk there. Heading up to him?
Yeah.
To like greet him? Yeah. So yeah.
Hide behind a light post.
as they do, all non-suspicious like.
Well, I broke eyesight with you, so you got to roll your spot again.
Well, I will tell Andrews to wait before going in. As just again, it looks like we're still in the sights of the police here. As at least let's wait to see what they want.
Yeah, so I'll be looking inside to see who he's talking about, like if there's police sitting at a table or something.
Yeah, there's...
What are you talking about?
I mean, you notice the faces of some of the regulars you've seen and hear about this time each morning, but you don't see anybody you know to be a police inside O'Lafferty's.
Okay. Yeah, what are you talking about? I don't see anybody.
As all, do you need me to roll another spot or no?
No, you
Yeah.
see him.
No, I'm not hiding
He's
behind a
there,
lamp.
standing behind.
He's
the
basically
light
coming
post.
right up to
What
you
are
guys. In fact,
How do you not see him?
if you draw Andrew's attention around, or he looks around, he's going to recognize Detective
Oh,
Glover because
that's
they've met before.
That's Detective Glover. He's here to join us. He's the one who's going to be helping us with this investigation. So play it cool with him. He's a real hard-boiled type.
Well, it's a good thing that us, we're, like I said, we're in a straight business here. So
Exactly. We're in a perfectly legitimate legal business.
except that this is a front for your, what is it?
Opium and
I don't
prostitution.
Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to think of what's actually illegal at this time. Yes, opium den in the basement. At least I forged
Also,
your signature on the lease
Yeah,
for it.
opium and hooch.
And by that stage, Mr. Monroe has walked up to the group, oblivious to any,
Suspicions
any weird stuff going on. I imagine greeting in the way he normally does.
Gentlemen, good morning. I trust you all had a wonderful night's sleep and that all of you have come prepared to discuss the intricacies of this case.
Nah, my wife, she keeps me up all night with her nagging. She's going on, and it's not helping because I'm currently having a little bit of a vacation from the force, and so I've been driving her up the walls, just being around all the time. It's a back and forth. It's a vicious cycle, Mr. Monroe.
Yes, the institution of marriage is quite the conundrum, a catch-22, no matter how you look at it. I guess that wouldn't have been a phrase back then, would it?
Yeah, no, not quite yet.
Yeah, quite the conundrum.
Never heard that before.
You can't,
What's this hip talk you're going on about?
you can't live with them, but you can't live without them, and
You can't kill them.
well, you
Just-
can, but then people like you tend to show up afterwards.
Well, gentlemen, let's not beat our gums out here. Let's go sit down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm starving.
I'll go around, open the door, motion with the paper for him to head on in.
With your motion with your belly.
I don't have a belly.
So yeah, as we
All
head in, I'll
cops
kind
do.
of arm hook the good doctor and start asking him how far he got on his readings.
Oh, you did finish the
Start
journal,
asking him
Brandon.
about soft chicken.
Which reminds me that does come with a 1d2 sand loss for reading Meriwether's journal, if you want to roll that out. It's automatic. The experience was when you finished up reading it, it just kind of brought you as close as you've been since you got right after the case with Charlie Murphy to getting back into that frame of mind, where you felt like if you went out, you were going to start seeing snake-shaped shadows cast by everybody,
Yeah.
So it's just a 1d2 sand loss, but also you get some benefits from it.
Wait, he's taking this right now?
He took it last night.
Oh, okay.
2 sanity have been lost, never to be regained.
Okay. And then let's see here. But it also adds 1 percentile to your Cthulhu Mythos skill, as well as granting you a skill check in occult. So you can tick the box by occult, add 1 to Cthulhu Mythos.
Okay.
So the entirety of it was, what's important to you is the discussion of this entity in the house and, how they went about the summoning in as much as it was detailed. But it also, from that point, begins his exploration into what the Djinn or what this particular thing was, which kind of led on to the markings on the inside of the sarcophagus, which kind of led on to the lost continent of Mu and his discoveries of where that might be, which kind of led on into the Larkin expedition into Peru, like learning about it before it actually took off and that sort of thing. So
So you're telling me that Meriwether and a group of others summoned a Djinn, in a house that we
Is that MU?
MU for the Lost Continental Moon. I mean, there's been different names in your experience. Like sometimes Monroe would call it Lemuria.
Okay.
Or so it's Some people even conflate it with Atlantis.
Oh, okay.
Although it's not clear that they're all the same because they're given different locations, supposed locations. But yeah, most of his research from the course of this journal concerns trying to identify and decipher Aklo, as that what was inside or on the lid might be key to solving his problem. Which, connecting it to your experience with these people in Peru, he ultimately never was able to solve prior to his death.
Aklo,
yeah. But yeah, when you guys go...
And that was what he said was the purpose of the expedition.
Right, yeah.
What expedition?
The Larkin expedition.
The Larkin expedition, yeah.
Yeah, the one that was your road into the story. You became involved at the midway point. But yeah, when you guys enter the Steve Bailey, you've come to know the owner is out there in a nice 3-piece, and you guys have a customary booth by now, which he, welcomes you all and ushers you to your booth. And it's one of those ones in the corner. You get like a nice picture window by it. You guys get settled in, and a waiter comes and takes your various orders.
Toast.
Nice. What kind of bread?
Whatever you got. Nice amount of butter and coffee black. Thank you.
Okay. What are you ordering, Monroe? This is character building.
Same as always, 2 sausages, 2 eggs, some hash browns, and a cup of coffee.
Same.
And for you, Whitmire?
Got any lobster rolls?
Some bacon.
I can't stop eating them. Oh, dude, that'd be funny if that was his frog proc, and he has to eat like gas station lobster rolls
from now on. Okay. All right. So the waitress departs to go get your orders going, and which leaves you guys there with what you have thus far gathered. And there was discussion for the plan for the day, which was you're still waiting on the photo for the symbol, which you could have checked down at a post office. Nothing's arrived for you yet. Yeah. Also on the docket today from last week was to translate the Anglo-Saxon tome Merwider Chronic and try to... Andrews, you wanted to do that by maybe one of your contacts you might have at Harvard.
Yeah.
To help with the translation. Monroe, by that same token, also wanted to look for a translator for these Egyptian hieroglyphs in Boston, either at a university, or I think you wanted to do a university, right?
Yeah. And maybe check out the library while we're there.
Right. And apart from that, the only thing else that has been planned was lunch with Mrs. Merriweather, but that's on Wednesday, the 24th.
Okay.
So some details were hashed out between you and her. It's to be at Parker's Restaurant, which is a swanky restaurant downtown Boston. So yeah, that's where you guys were kind of at the end of yesterday, but you now have a new person in the mix in Whitmire, and you guys can take it from there, I suppose, as your food arrives. Who's doing what?
Yeah, so I'll be going to Harvard to see about getting this Merwider Chronic translated. I don't have the time or the patience to try the translation myself, so I'm just going to see if I can find an expert, and I have some contacts at Harvard.
I guess I'm going to be checking some post offices around town, see if they got that photo in. I'm thinking if they don't, I might take a train and put maybe even my car up to one of the ones in between here or there, see if I can intercept it and get it to us early. I feel like that's kind of a crucial piece for you guys' investigation, and I'd like to see it myself.
Monroe, were you going to keep looking for the Vermis Mysterious?
I was going to look at that, but I was also going to try and stop by the university and see if they could help me in translating these Egyptian hieroglyphics. These ones don't seem to be in any of my reference material, so I need to seek elsewhere. I picked up a few books on my way this morning, but I don't know if they'll help us on our way, so I figure seeking out an expert's the best course of action.
Do you ever take a breath?
I try not to. Breathing is such a horrid habit.
I see.
Besides, every moment that I'm not speaking is a moment wasted.
With that new reference book, it'll afford you another crack with your archaeology skill or Egyptian hieroglyphics to maybe crack the code in this.
All right.
Whatchamacallit.
You should be careful. I had an uncle that died that way.
Well, I do it as a public service because any moment that I'm not speaking is a moment that the world is denied my my insights and my understanding.
Of course, I completely understand. It's just don't make a martyr of yourself.
All right, so yeah, once again, failed.
Push it.
Yeah, I'll push it.
All right, so let's see. What's your justification? The basis for this test is that you had a new book.
Book was obviously a flim-flam book. Leads him in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah, how about that? Every time I try and use this book as a reference, if I can't do it, then it will give me a
penalty or
penalty.
something? Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Why isn't lemon scented water working on the Djinn?
All
right, so yeah, you think, you find something. You didn't have much hope when you were first flipping through the pages of the book, but, as conversation has kind of died out and you're just finishing up your meal, you're kind of looking through it in one hand and drinking your tea. What's it? Coffee.
Yeah.
And you see a symbol that you're like, oh, like you see the mistake you were making yesterday. So now it's a matter of time. So now you're kind of like just at where you have to get into the grunt work. The thing's been unlocked. Now it's a matter of putting into place, which of course you can't really shortcut the amount of time that will take. But
I might be able to with an expert to help me.
Why don't you roll a 1d4 for me?
Let me tell you, gentlemen, there's nothing more spooky at night than the sound of angry knitting.
3.
So you're thinking, given the hieroglyphs, the amount of carvings that are on the box, which isn't a lot, but that it's Old Kingdom Egyptian, which is a little bit more complicated. You think with 3 days solid work, you'll be able to have it fully deciphered.
All night.
And
sorry.
Do I think with an actual Egyptologist assisting me, I could cut that down?
Yeah, you could probably have it.
Okay. So yeah, I'll kind of exclaim while I'm looking through the book. I see where I was having troubles with. This is an older dialect of Egyptian than I had been previously looking at. So I think I can have this done in a day or two, and perhaps with the assistance of someone at the college, we can have it by tomorrow, maybe. Finally, the first clue on our journey.
So as far as going to a university, are you going to team up with Andrews then and head down to Harvard?
Yeah.
And check out their Whitmire library there?
Yeah.
Okay. But that leaves Whitmire with idle time, idle hands, do the devil's work.
When I was reading these handouts, there was a book that we needed to find, right?
Yeah, the De Vermis Mysterious.
And there were 2 copies. One that was at if I'm remembering the right readout as I'm trying to go through and find it, as I thought there were 2 copies, one that was on display in like a museum and one in a personal collection, possibly.
Yeah. So what was left by the letter of Rupert Merriweather, because it was written before the disappearance of the Miskatonic's copy of De Vermis Mysterious, was that they had one, but when they went to meet with Dr. Henry Armitage, which is the curator of the library there, he said it was stolen, so they didn't have one. But he said he thought the Whitmire Library might have one, but he's not sure on that. They just have the world's largest collection of books. But he was more sure that a antiquarian by the name of Tobias Heckley in New York would have, or does have, a copy.
That might coincide with me potentially heading out that way for seeing if I could intercept the photo.
Yeah,
and of course,
what I want to check out. I want to go check out his house and see if there might be some options to gain some entry to it.
Oh, Tobias Heckley's house? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do know your crew, currently you moved them out of Boston last year, and you've been getting a foothold in New York, so you have some contacts there as well.
Yeah, so I'll say that I'll go take a look into the go look in, or go see if I could take a look into the day. I can't remember what
De Vermis Mysterious.
You can
Vermis
also say the
Mysterious.
Book of the Worm, which is its English translation.
I'll tell you what, Whitmire, why don't we head out together? Perhaps we can just use the color law to get on past the door. You just gotta swing by some post offices for me.
Huh? This wouldn't be the first time that I've played nice with the police, and I mean, I did have informants, so I don't see why I would really have a problem with it.
Oh, yeah? You'll have to tell me all about it on the ride over.
Oh, no, that was like inner dialogue. So.
Well, it's because I can read you like an open
You're
book.
going to be my new informant, buddy. Yeah, so that sounds good. So I can definitely use some company on the ride up.
I'm glad I'm not in that car. That's an awkward ride.
This is where Whitmire shines, though, because there's a parallel with the early episodes of last season where he was paired up at dinner at the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight with Logan Terry. So he just naturally falls in with the cops.
He also is paired up a lot with Stanton.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so
which is weird as hell for a what was supposed to be an emerging crime boss.
Okay, so you guys leave O'Lafferty's and head in your separate directions. Detective Glover and Mr. Whitmire to the train station to catch a train up to New York, which is about 3 hours from Boston by train, and Dr. Andrews and Mr. Monroe to the Whitmire Library, which you are well familiar with, not only from last season's investigation, but because Dr. Andrews also went to school there, I believe. I'm not sure if Monroe did, but you've been in there on occasion.
Yeah, I have their copy of the Liber Ivanis.
Right. It's in your safe possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had mentioned last episode that you were going to take a look at some of your old notes because you had markings of Aklo given to you by Mr. Rupert Merriweather. You had the rubbings that you took from the pyramid, and also you had the notes that you took from the dream state being within the lair where they had these strange symbols on devices that they appear to be like Aklo to you. So you've been keeping kind of track of this, hoping to find that moment when you can maybe start to put something together. Because you do have a few definitions, you think, to go along with some of the symbols you've seen, particularly from the ones in the Serpent Folk's lair. And so if you want to add the Aklo skill at 1%, or no, sorry, 3% to your character sheet, language is Aklo, and then roll that for me.
Aklo at 3.
No.
Oh.
You could almost buy that off.
I could buy it off, but I'm not going to.
So the symbols remain impenetrable. It seems like there's more than 23. Is that how many letters we have?
26.
26. There we go. 26 repeating characters. You think it might have more to do with like a different language family, right?
Okay.
Where they construct their language differently. So it's going to need either a bolt of inspiration or more samples of Aklo to crack through it. But we'll stick with you two as you make your way to Whitmire. You're well familiar with its main study hall where you send off librarians to fetch books from amongst the stacks. Those areas are generally closed except to Harvard staff. Although you guys have on occasion smoozed your way back in there, but currently you're starting anew. Now we're going to see if you have a contact here that can help you in your particular problem, Dr. Andrews. So you could make a hard education roll for me, or the same for your language English, to find somebody who you're familiar with that would be well versed in, ancient England, Middle Ages England.
There's the hard education roll.
Yeah. So you know a professor. You took his course 1 year by the name of Quentin Alexander. It was on early writings, or early British writings, right? is what it was on, and with that came a bunch of history around it. And that's where you had learned that, you kind of have this idea that if you speak English, then you understand English no matter where you pop up in history. But it made sense to you that he said that wouldn't be the case, right? Like, even if you read Shakespeare, you're still kind of lacking a little bit. It takes some understanding to really get the most out of Shakespeare. And this would be even older by, I think, like 600 years than Shakespeare. So this is almost an entirely different language. Like I said, it's about 1 every 5 or 1 out of every 10 words you would recognize as modern English. So you think he would be the guy that might be able to help you in the translation. That was Quentin Alexander.
Okay.
So he would be going to a different part of the college. I think the liberal arts buildings is where you would head off to.
Okay.
Whereas you would likely remain in the library, Monroe.
Yeah. Also trying to find an Egyptologist that might be able to help me. I would have probably copied the hieroglyphs from around the sarcophagus and.
Well, you can make the same. It would be an extreme education success or hard archaeology to have established a contact in the archaeology department here.
Let's see, education. Yeah, it'd be hard archaeology. Nope.
Okay, so you'll have to contact one, just seek a meeting with one.
Yeah.
Formally.
Yeah, I'll try and set that up through the librarian if I can.
Okay. Yeah, so Dr. Andrews, you head off to where you kind of remember his offices to be, and you ask there in that building if that's still the case, and another professor who you caught in the hallway there says, "Oh yeah, I think he's in his office now."
Okay.
So that was Professor Alexander. You go and tap at his door, which was open just a little bit, and he says, you hear an old, frail voice, "Come in."
Okay. Yeah, I'll go in and I'll take a look around and see if he recognizes me.
Yeah, he kind of looks up. He's got the fringes of white at the sides of his head, but bald on top, and he has kind of like some jowls from age, not necessarily from fat, just, time pulling down on the skin. It kind of jiggles when he looks over at you, but he's squinting and he puts on his glasses to better see who you are. But go and give me a credit rating or appearance, or I guess I do that. I keep forgetting. Credit rating or appearance, which is higher for you?
My credit rating is higher.
What's the value on it?
It is 90.
Holy smokes.
He's a doctor.
1%. Eat the rich. All right. Yeah, so it doesn't seem that he recognizes you at first, but he takes in, your clothes. You're not really somebody who displays their wealth, but you just can't help in the cuts and the materials that you wear on your person of not giving that off to some degree. Hold on just a sec here. So yeah, he's like, "Oh, what can I do for you, sir? Are you in the right place?"
Yes, Professor. I'm not sure if you remember me, but I took your course for a semester a few years back while I was here studying. I'm Wallace Andrews.
Andrews.
Dr. Wallace.
Yes, nearly failed my course, if I remember.
No.
No. Am I mistaken?
You're thinking of a different Andrews.
Walter Andrews.
There are a lot of Andrews, that is true, but surely I have your paper here.
Yeah. He's kept it.
What's the title of college student Andrews' paper in ancient British literature?
Blah, blah, blah. If you know one word, you know them all.
The folly of allowing English to create a language that is not
Right. Well, in any case, nearly failed is not failed. So
Yes.
Please have a seat. It's been quite a few years, Mr. Andrews.
Yes, and as it turns out, and I'll pull that book out, I've come across this and I needed it translated, and while I'm certain that I could do so, the amount of time and effort it would take just made me remember you, and I wanted to bring it to you and see what you thought about this.
So yeah.
I can only recognize maybe 1 out of 10 words in here. And I'd always assume that if you dropped me in any era in which English was spoken, I'd be able to understand.
That is a mistake that many people make. Language changes just as we change.
Yeah.
But let me see what you have there. Good God. This is an incredible find. Where did you come across such a book? You see, outside of the church, not much was written down. This is very rare. And I'm very disappointed that you were just carrying it in that satchel of yours.
I thought I taught you better than this.
My apologies, Professor, but it was what's it called? I inherited it in a friend passed away and left it to me in his will, and it was obviously very important to him, and so as a way of strengthening that connection, I'd like to know what it says.
Yeah, so he carefully opens the book, which books in this time period are kind of like, they have like a harder, like a firmer back and front cover, and then you have like a leather thread that's kind of looping the two covers together and whatnot. And so he very carefully opens it and looks at the dates, and he's like, 880, that is truly amazing. Well, let's see here. It's quite a lengthy tome. It would take me quite a while to translate it in full, but here it says, "This is the chronicle of Merwider, priest of the Catholic Church, member of," and then in Latin he writes, "Ignatus Disciplus." My Latin's a little rusty. Do you know that one, Doctor?
Let me roll my Latin, Professor.
Just wait.
Yes, that means
unknown disciple.
Unknown disciple.
Or disciples. In any case, he continues, "By which admission I brand myself a heretic. By my word alone, beneath the word," and that is the Greek logos, so I assume they're meaning Christ, "and his unknown disciple, again, I maintain that this chronicle is the truth. From the moment of my induction by the priest Nodens in the holy city, have I pledged my life to seek and root out the true enemy of mankind." Proper pronoun on enemy there. "Lo, the terrible faceless God who seeks to undo the word," that's the logos again, "is coming like a star on the shore. Let us few who stand against endure in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." And from there it goes on to the rest, the journal entries, I assume, or a chronicle, I would expect. It's how they were most often written in that time period. Who gave this to you? Or you said a will? It was willed to you? You inherited it?
Yes, from an old family friend by the name of Rupert Merriweather.
Merriweather?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's interesting, because that very well could be a corruption of Merwider over the years.
Oh.
Names.
That's very interesting.
If you're a Mac Allen Scottish person, it might be corrupted to Allen over time. If your family migrated to the Americas or something, that's what these things happen,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming you're wanting me to translate this entire thing for you, which he seems excited at the prospect.
Yes, I would. That would be very helpful. I'd appreciate that a great deal. I could even pay you if you need.
Offer to also pay for any psychiatric.
Well, yes, just not much. I wouldn't think more than $2 a day would be necessary, but it would take weeks, I would expect. Of course, you could check in from time to time and see what I've. Is there any particular thing I'm looking for?
Yeah. What was the connection to the rest of it?
You're not sure, other than that it was physically in the gold fringed sarcophagus.
Yeah, which was related to a Djinn.
Right.
Potentially evil spirits.
Yeah.
Demons, devils.
Yes, well, in this time period, they unlikely would have referenced Djinn at this location. I think maybe like the Greek daemon is very like a Djinn. Not necessarily good or bad, but it's kind of the forces that interfere with humanity. Well, I'll keep my eye open for it, but...
De Vermis Mysteris.
Give me a luck roll.
Oh, wrong person.
Well, I passed my luck roll last session, now, didn't I? Nobody thanked me
Who's
for
talking
that.
trash? Come
Brandon, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Brandon. Yes. Now succeed again.
Oh, so close. I'll use 5 luck. To...
The old perpetual motion device. Doesn't ring a bell.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. As you're
the term?
as you're translating this, stuff about daemons or Djinn or De Vermis Mysteris, that sort of thing, of course, piques my interest the most because he was an eccentric fellow, and I find all that sort of thing interesting. But otherwise, I would just need a full translation.
Well, I will get to work as time allows. If you can leave where I might contact you, I'll let you know if I come across anything interesting. And he takes that information from you, and we'll jump over to Monroe, who is trying to find himself an Egyptologist.
Yep. And while I'm waiting for that, then, waiting to get any kind of response on
Passing
whether or not
out
they
flyers.
have team meeting availability for today. See if I can get into like the restricted section.
Okay.
To
Well, I guess we'll start first. You already don't have a contact, so you're going to officially set up a meeting. We'll start there.
Yeah.
So let's get your appearance or credit rating. I'll roll it for you. Just tell me the higher two values.
let's see. Appearance is a 35.
Is it higher than your credit?
Yeah, it's 27.
Man,
Dirt poor.
really swimming outside your social circles there.
Yeah, why do you think I hand out so many flyers?
Why do you think you hang out with the doctor?
Why do you think I was always begging drinks off Stanton?
Yeah, so they, this woman librarian ends up, her name, she introduces herself as Caitlin Fisher, and you ask if you could meet with anybody in the Egyptology department or archaeology. And she just notices your suit first off and maybe doesn't notice what you ask initially. And she's like, I think you might be the only person in the world who could pull off that color. Congratulations. It actually does work well with your complexion.
Exactly.
Thank you. I have prided myself on my style and aplomb.
It matches his purple and pink splotchy skin or whatever. I don't know. Anyway. but I'm sorry. What did you ask again?
Yes, I have been asked to translate some Egyptian hieroglyphics to see if a piece that I have recently come across is authentic or not, and I would like to reach out with the Egyptology department in order to try and see if I can get a translation of the hieroglyphs that I've scribed down.
Well, I can definitely send off a note there. I'm not sure if you'll get help from a professor, but perhaps some undergrad would be happy to come down.
Any assistance that I can get would be most helpful. I seem to have hit a bit of a brick wall myself. I have some of it translated, but I'm afraid I can't quite complete it yet.
So give me a luck roll. See if anybody's available right now.
I just like the idea that Justin's particular purple colored suit is like the color, like, was it outside of space or whatever the heck? So you can't quite describe it.
I lost my last character icon, so I uploaded a new one. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
on your rolls, I think I must have mine turned off.
Down along the bottom.
I
definitely
changed it. Mine turned off. Okay, so basically you're not going to get one right at this moment, but you can do a 1d3 for me.
Okay. Liking those threes, apparently.
Okay, so basically over the course of the rest of the research you're doing, you get a note back from a student by the name of Vaughn who says they'd be happy to help, but not until Monday when they're free of their duties now. So
that's
Today's Saturday, right?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can have it pretty much translated by myself by then, but yeah, I'll take the appointment.
Okay. Always make a new contact. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was Courtney Vaughn.
Courtney Vaughn.
Yeah. All right.
No caps lock.
So you were going to try to also get in to the stacks yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, once I get the message back from the librarian saying that it'll be 3 days before I can get anyone else. Say, well, if you don't mind, I would really appreciate having a little bit of access to some of the books that may be used in order to help with this translation. I understand that there's some really useful source material in your restricted section.
Okay. All right. So
It's this way, isn't it?
she's
I'll
like,
just-
she's like, well, unless you're, a professor or some other member of the staff, we don't allow, civilians, regular people in there. But of course, you may do a social role. At this instant, you're really limited to, by your approach, I would say charm is your best bet.
All right. I upgraded it last time, so here we go. Oh, it's still on hard.
Okay.
It's a 27 normally, but yeah, still quite a ways away.
Okay, so you could potentially push if you wanted to by basically burning all the goodwill that you've created so far. You realize that you're starting to tread on that border between you might become a pest to this person instead of
like the idea that his voice takes on a certain edge that she picks up on.
Yeah.
Like it goes from being lighthearted, maybe a little bit overly talkative, to there's something like
Right.
desperate or dangerous there.
and you can
Just underlying, yeah.
shift the skill if you want to. Like you could go into persuade. You could be like, oh, well, I understand. Let me give you a list of books. You could like just start listing a bunch of stuff, but in between all you would need, you can really start kind of working her over. That would give you enough time to push by persuade, but it would still be a push.
Yeah, I'll do persuade, and kind of do it in a way where, if I can't do it today, then maybe see if she can get authorization for tomorrow or some other time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do that. Persuade.
Oh.
That was a horrible failure. So yeah, I absolutely fail on that.
You're sounding a little too desperate. There's something.
Yeah, she says, I'm really am busy and the rules are the rules. So I'm afraid I can bring you your top selection from this rather extensive list. And then we'll go from there. And she's gotten cold on you now.
She's heard stories of a slight German professor that accosted one of her other.
Patrick was the last librarian that you guys. It was like, hey, if you ever see a dude with an old man, the dude's wearing a really crazy suit. Just don't.
But yeah, I won't, force my hand. I'll accept whatever help she's willing to give, and take the first book, which happens to be the mysterious.
Dave Burmis Mysterious. I mean, you can put that if you'd be like, oh, it'll be this one, but then we'll have to go back to luck and see if you luck out. So,
yeah, I'll actually try that. I'll have that as like the choice. I say, well, out of all the books that I've requested, this is the one that I've heard may have what I would like the most. Come on, scroll. There we go. I think I'm getting some lag or something with it. Oh.
Well, you're getting a lot of fails out of the way.
All
right, so
me and Whitmire get back from New York. We can try this again.
Yeah.
Flash a badge.
So, basically, you've kind of hit the limit here on what you can do. However, you can still do the good work of translating yourself. And if you spend until they close on a Saturday, they're really only open till like 6. If you spend until then doing the translation, that will count as one of the days required.
Yeah, I'll do that so that she sees that I'm actually working on something, and then I am
Hopefully
actually looking for it.
Improve your opinion.
Yeah, that I'm not just here to try and scam my way into an area where
Man, the way you're rolling, though, your hair is going to get crazier. You're going to be covered in dirt and grime. clawing at books. Oh, it's not going to be pretty if you don't change this around.
But yeah, she'll probably obviously say, I'm afraid I can't allow you access to that or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, the book, she says, I'm not sure if that's in our collection. Right?
I'm positive.
And she comes back maybe after an hour of working, and she's like, I don't think we have any book by that title.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll give her the next title on my list. And
this is why Johann just turned to assault.
I'll continue my kind of charm offensive by thanking her profusely for any help that she gives me and so on and so forth.
It doesn't work, Monroe.
So
Violence is always the answer.
Yeah, that's true.
I saw what happened to Johann when...
You're not going to make any breaks until you get kicked out of the damn library.
As they're always hiding the best books behind lock and key.
All right, so by the end of that session of translation, you think that you might be looking at like a poem or maybe a lyric or something like that. But it begins with the words, seeker of wisdom, and then it says servant, although the translation's not clear. That also could be son of... And you're not sure, because you don't know about how this comes from Egyptian. You're not even sure of the term, except it's kind of like Set or Seth. But anyhow, servant or son of Yog Setheth. But you can make a Cthulhu Mythos roll off of that.
Cthulhu Mythos.
What are you up to these days?
11.
Nice.
And roll it.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm just hitting 90s left and right here.
At least you're not fumbling, though.
I'm getting pretty dang close on some of these.
Watch your mouth, Travis.
Right. All right. Well, let's pause with the Boston crew and head over to the New York train crew. So you have about a 3-hour ride, Detective Glover and Mr. Whitmire. How does that go?
Well, first, I think before we take off, I'll check around, see if I can find where that package might be currently, and tell them to just hold it.
All right. So yeah, as far as you know, it hasn't even been marked out. Like nothing's been sent off from New York, right? Like there's no scent or anything like that. So
excellent. Just hold the package. I'll be there. Pick it up sometime. This evening? Maybe tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you'll probably be there. If you guys left in the morning, you'll be there by early afternoon.
That's even better. Early afternoon. So yeah, that'd be the first thing I do before we actually take off.
Any preparation before you board that train, Whitmire?
Well,
dynamite?
Yeah, I'll
always dynamite.
I'll make sure that I have. I thought I had like a little handgun. Just give me a second.
Yeah, you have a couple. You have Saucedo's 1911, and then I think you have a
32. I thought, or something.
32 revolver.
38.
38 works too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll. I think that's probably easier to conceal. So
yeah,
as I'll make sure that I've got that set in case there's any issues, and some various like lock picks, right, tobacco, things like that.
Just the normal kit.
Some walk-in cash. You never know what you're gonna run into. As Logan Terry's police badge, those things.
Right. Yeah. So you guys board the train. You buy your tickets. Well, you can travel separately on the train or try to get to know one another. It's up to you how you wish to do it.
I got no problem traveling with Whitmire.
Okay.
Yeah,
he might not want to be seen with me, though.
For these guys or for this guy, as Logan Terry was kind of a shaky acquaintance, and I don't know if Glover, you're what are you? You're a detective?
Homicide, yeah.
All right, yeah, as I don't know if Glover's going to be the same way.
Well, you can both give me a psychology roll. This is on, like one another, trying to see if you get like an accurate read of the person. See below what they're saying.
Oh, I don't know if that's going to be good. As I keep missing this other box that pops up.
Oh, right. If you want to change the roll behavior, just let me know. I think you can.
No, you're good. I just got to move it to a new spot. That way it pops up because I'm like, I hit it and it's like, all right, waiting. It's like, is it work? I hit it again. But I didn't get it.
So for the Glover's part, you're pretty sure you got him pegged for the kind of person he is.
A little bit too shifty, even though he's pretty good at hiding it, probably.
But you don't necessarily take him for a murderer, at least not the kind who goes out of his way to murder. He's definitely a hard case, right?
Yeah.
You can see that in his face.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going in with the assumption that any of these guys are murderers.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that's what you... And the way he speaks, is like that's at a layer that doesn't really reveal any of that by words. You're just kind of getting... He just has some mannerisms that you've seen people who've been pinched before have, that are used to doing that, especially when they're dealing with cops. So you kind of see all that. But for Whitmire's part, the detective is kind of inscrutable to you. You have a dislike just because he's police and you guys are at odds all the time. However, he has like a nice kind of disarming look about his face, right? It kind of reminds you of being in church as a boy.
That could be what he dislikes, is that
right.
it's like this guy is kind of a little too nice, and it could be he's encountered people like that it's a play, it's a it's a front.
But you can't you don't feel like you have it pegged one way or the other for your part, just for future role-playing purposes. He could be as he presents, or there could be a deeper level.
Yeah. So I think I'll sit down in the seat across from him, if these are like those type of train cars. Or you
can pay a bit extra for like a room, like your own closed off area. But
I'll leave that up to Whitmire if he wants to do that. I'm not too. I'm going to peg myself as fairly frugal.
Right. Yeah.
But I'll just sit down wherever and.
Yeah, I'd say for both of you, you're probably just in the equivalent of coach.
Yeah. Start reading the paper, and so most of that read will come from the occasional like looking over the paper at him.
Yeah.
Probably mad dogging me.
Right.
Well, no, I planned on trying to strike up conversation as far as like, how long have you been in the on the force and all that, right? Is try and lean more into the small amount of time I've had as a PI to try and find some like common ground.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, as I also don't know if I'm walking into another ambush like what happened with Logan Terry a few months ago.
Yeah, when I see that he's wanting to make conversation instead of just kind of, close me out or whatever, I'll fold up the newspaper and start, answering his questions.
Get on with the small talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, detectives and police officers in general have a ambivalent relationship with PIs, private detectives.
Yeah, they're always mucking up a scene.
Yeah. Yeah. But, occasionally you've made breaks based off of information that somebody where they hired a PI and something they gathered helped in your case. So it's kind of like sending children out to do.
So what I was hoping to lean on more is more, I guess, the manipulative style, right? Is like, I just got into this business, and I don't want to muck it up for you guys, right? So like, what are some of the things that the mistakes that you've seen them do in the past, or like more of a I'm trying to think of the word for it as I can, but more of someone who's just more like someone who's, I guess, admiring. I don't know if that's the right word. You're taking like a beginner's mentality, right? Yeah, but I mean it's all BS. Is the other part, right? Like I could care less what he actually thinks, but it's more just trying to win him over type thing. Gotcha.
Do I got to read on that though?
Well, just from your initial interactions, you've taken everything a layer down, right?
Okay.
So what he's saying isn't necessarily what he's thinking.
All right. So I'll kind of do some of the small talk stuff, like, never really run with one of your hunches. I understand that that's kind of the appeal of being a detective, is being able to just go out there and, think you got someone pegged, but you never really know till there's evidence. Don't muck up a crime scene. And then after I kind of go through some, like, basic stuff like that, I'll kind of, Whitmire, you're going to choke if you just don't spit it out. So what exactly are you driving at, boy? Or son? It's okay.
Yeah, so if he comes on blunt, so what do you got planned up here in New York?
I told you, I'm gonna go pick up a picture, and I'm gonna go stop by this collective with you. See if we can kind of muscle our way in. See if we can get our hands on the book. Then we're going to head back to Boston.
I'm trying to remember the name. I don't think I have it in my bio anymore, or my notes anymore. I can't see my journal from last time either. But who was the crime boss that I'd gotten in bad with?
Patrick Malone.
Yeah, I'll ask, does that name ring a bell?
I'm a was it probably a 30-year?
Right, yeah.
I'm a 30-year veteran of the police force. Most of that's spent on homicide, Whitmire. Of course, the name rings a bell.
Yeah, and within the last year, you've kind of been seeing a month-over-month increase in gangland-related homicides, you know.
He's been slipping bodies like fish through a net. All right? If I could get anything on him, I'd pinch him as soon as I could. So, what's it to you?
What could I roll to see if he's being honest?
Well, you already rolled your psychology.
Or,
I mean,
I guess could I push now?
You could, of course, attempt to push. If you have justification for going to a different skill that we might hear, that could be a possibility. Nothing's popping into my head
not for a different skill.
If he failed the push, would it be, I didn't think he's a murderer, but now I'm suspicious?
Well,
or what?
When it comes to these sort of interpersonal roles against each other, I don't want to force you guys to behave a particular way.
You wouldn't be forcing me to.
but the way that they say to do it is to just give the winning opponent, I suppose. So in the case of a failed push, you would have won. Basically, I give you a penalty die that you can, whenever you want, just drop on the player.
I almost don't like that as much as just be suspicious of him.
Yeah. Well, you're already suspicious of him. You know, I mean, if you want to just keep it to role playing, we don't have to do that. If he fails the push and it makes you angry, then you can react like.
See how he plays it.
Yeah, you can react however you want.
Yeah, because it's one of those where it's kind of funny where I would consider the handing out a penalty die to be.
Well, it's an optional thing, and it's because they don't want to have a situation where the high persuade character is telling all the other PCs what to do because the dice said so.
Well, that's one of those where people don't really understand persuade and charm and stuff like that. If you don't like someone, it doesn't matter how charming they are.
Now the first layer is role play it, right? Which I think we can do, which is what we'll leave at a failed push. But if we needed an additional one, then we could do the penalty die. But if you don't want to do it, then we won't. So
all right, yeah, all right. So go for it, John. Would I be countering again, or is he just pushing his?
No, he's just pushed it.
Just
tried
pushing.
to roll again.
But I guess I'm just gonna come out pretty bluntly then, because I can't get a read on you. Are you on his payroll? Are you on his payroll like Terry was?
I think
that would be the thing? The accusation of being crooked could be a good way of.
What about
really pissing you off?
Do I think Terry's crooked from what I know of him? Would you want a psychology roll on that? Or?
It would be an extreme psychology to get your thoughts on Terry.
Nope.
Well, he's got an edge, but a lot of cops have an edge because there's a practical concern to doing police work that doesn't always match up with the letter of the law. So, but that doesn't mean he's dirty, and it doesn't mean you're dirty, like Whitmire just said. So.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of put my newspaper down and take my cigar out of my mouth, and I'll kind of eye him real good. Not in a intimidating way, because I don't think I exude intimidation at all for the most part. But I'll kind of eye him real good, and I guess I'll say I've never taken a cent under the table from any of you two-bit crooks ever. On my grandmother's grave, I would die before I'd ever turn crooked, and I suggest that you be real careful, Whitmire, with how you approach police officers with those type of accusations, because while I'm perfectly fine, calm, and level-headed, I've known some guys that would just bust you up right now for that.
Didn't mean any offense by it. As much as I as I can with a question like that, but the last time I took a ride with an officer or with the police, it didn't end all too well for me.
Well, then you'll be perfectly fine to know that I'm on a little vacation, and I'm technically not a member of the Boston Police Force currently.
That was all, it was good to know. Good to know. It was, start nervously rolling a cigarette.
Well, I mean, that's sort of an understanding between two men on opposite sides of the track. As they say, you kind of know where the other one stands, at least in part. But soon enough, your train pulls into New York, Grand Central Station there. And
I was kind of hoping he'd ask me what I'm on vacation for.
He's going to talk to his guys and find that out, probably, if I know Whitmire. But yeah, there you are in New York. You get out of the mass of people coming in on the train station and into the busiest city in the world. It has more car-type traffic than even Boston, so it's got that music and rhythm to it. And so you're let loose. And a little backstory for Whitmire here. As I said, you've been setting your crew up in in New York. And part of what has got you that foothold is you and your crew saw the writing on the wall when it came to Harlem in particular, because of late it's become kind of a hotspot for music and arts. And so gin joints and speakeasies have been popping up here and there. And that's where you've kind of come in and saw a bit of a boom in your business. So
okay,
that's kind of where you've been working at, because you're not stepping on anybody's toes yet. And there's a lot of toes to step on. I mean, there's parts of Harlem you're not going into because you still have like the Italian mob to worry about. But it's all this basically the real estate market priced out, or it got too like low rent for the people that were living there. It's a big Jewish community. So now you have a lot of people fleeing like Jim Crow South and whatnot, picking up these low rent buildings and opening businesses. So it's a pretty hefty black population at this time in Harlem. And that's where your angle is at. You get the booze in those gin joints. You keep everybody real loose and everybody has a good time, because all sorts of people come to Harlem at night and mix in these joints.
Good music, good booze, good dancing. Yeah, sounds like a fun time.
If I remember that, I don't know where it's at in these handouts. I can't seem to find it. But he owns a bookshop in Harlem, right?
Yeah, Dog Ears. Yeah. So I think your plan was to work your contacts and see if you could find out where this guy's home address is.
Yeah, that was going to be the go-to there, is work the contacts, get an idea of where he actually lives. Does he seem to keep anything worthwhile in the store that we can find out, right? Because I'm not sure where he actually keeps it, but I don't imagine that he would keep collections in his shop. Although I'm also not very well versed on book crimes, so I guess that's something else that I can try and dig into as well.
Book crimes? I like computer crimes.
All right, so we can use your stand-in skill for your, which is stealth, for your shady business. So you can roll that out to see if any of your crew can give you that information.
Can I give him
successful.
Do I know enough of New York to give like a place, maybe like a cop bar or something adjacent to a cop bar, close enough?
Yeah, you could do law.
Okay.
Your law skill.
Let's see.
I mean, you'll probably know it when you see it, but you're certain you heard one in the past, but, maybe when you pick up this drawing or picture, you can just ask or something like that.
Maybe I'll defer to Whitmire before, because I'm going to head over to the station. You do what you need to do, Whitmire. Don't go to the collector's house without me. I'll help you out there. And meet me. You got a spot? There's a couple, but they're all escaping my memory. It's not what it used to be.
What can I
navigate
to see what I have around here? I mean, I'd imagine I have, because my residence is in New York, my normal residence as well. So
you've been living off and on there for about a year now. So a bunch of different places you could point them to He's looking for what he asked for originally, which was like a place that the cops hang out a lot.
That's
Okay.
I was saying, is there a spot that I might know of, like a cop bar? Because a cop
Right.
bar would be a place that I would go, but it could be any, like a bar, someplace to
Yeah.
meet.
So if you'll accept that, navigate is all. I will actually point him to a couple places that that I think would be good for him to go, as having spotted him as a cop right away. Right? It's like,
No, that's-
this keep you out of trouble, basically.
I think we're still confusing what I was asking. I was asking for a cop bar because it would be a place that I would probably have frequented while here. I'm not asking for an actual cop
But
bar.
you're asking Whitmire for any bar that would be good for you to be at, right?
No, for us to meet back
Oh,
up
okay,
with.
gotcha.
Right.
A
So,
meeting.
like, I thought it would be funny if I went to a cop bar and told him to meet me
To meet
there.
me there, and he's like, I
But
go to that place.
barring that I don't know enough of the locations here, I would just be saying, is there a place we're going to meet before we head off to this collector's house?
So
Okay,
any
then I
place
can-
would do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just
Sorry about that.
do a restaurant. I'll pick a restaurant or something, like a diner.
Okay.
That's I'd say somewhere where I don't have where I'm not well known, right? Is that way people don't see me hanging out with
So
the
I
police.
feel like for New York, we need a like an ethnic named restaurant, but we should do Italian. What's the name of our Italian New York restaurant that we meet at?
Luigi's.
Luigi.
No, I was going to say Geno's.
Geno's, that'll work.
Yeah, I was
Dino's
gonna
alright.
say Dino's.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so yeah, we'll go with Geno's there. You say you can go there. You know it because you've also, although you're not currently doing it, you have made drops for them in the past, you know. But they shaped up because they got stung a little bit in the early days of when the prohibition went into effect, and now they don't deal in any booze anymore. But you know it to be fairly reputable and a good place for you to go for sure. Okay, so let's stick with Detective Glover as he heads over to the department to pick up this photograph or this drawing of the symbol that was carved into the corpse of Marion Allen's forehead back in 1877. I did want to note real quick that with your past extreme success stealth roll, within the next few hours, Whitmire, you get the address of Dog Ears, which is on Lenox Avenue in Harlem. And they say that this Tobias Heckley guy, this comes from your crew, you know, you just kind of touch bases with him. And they say he actually lives in the apartment above bookstores down below. So that's what you're looking at, boss.
Okay. I'll thank him and head over to. I'll head over to Geno's and just get some coffee and a pastry. Yes, if they have it.
All right, so Detective Glover, you walk into the precinct you contacted to get this drawing or photograph, whatever it was, and you walk up to the front desk there.
Hi, I'm Detective Jack Glover. I'm here to meet an acquaintance of mine, and I'll give the name of the guy, the contact I had spoken to.
Right, yeah. Andrew, or what was it? Doesn't matter. But yeah, they're like, yeah, Glover, we got a package here for you.
Excellent.
And they, it's just wrapped up in parchment, and they pass it off to you, bound up in twine.
All right. You have yourself a good old day, and I'll head over to Geno's,
Okay.
and I'll wait to open. Well, no, I'm a detective. I'll take a peek.
Yeah. So you slide it out, and this is a drawing. I mean, 1877, it's possible they had a photograph then, but unlikely. So it looked like the sketch artist for the police department of that time drew the symbol. And let me share it with you.
Yeah, I'll turn it like,
This way and that.
yeah, trying to figure out which way it goes.
Yeah, because you were, you know, like Dr. Andrews, it said symbols often mean a lot. So when you are looking at it and it doesn't illuminate anything any further, I mean, if you had to describe it to another fella, you'd say maybe it's like the impression a lamprey's mouth would make or something like that, but
I don't
it
know.
doesn't ring a bell in your head. unless
Sort of
you
looks
wanna-
like a flower to me.
You want to roll your Cthulhu mythos, which I don't think you have any in.
Nah, I don't, because I'm sane and rational.
Right. So yeah, you're basically just left with another question when
Yeah,
you pull
okay.
that out. And
I'll kind of like, to the cabbie, I'll be like, this remind you of anything, bud?
Nah.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So why don't you give us the last expression on Glover's face as he's taking the cab over to Gino's, and we'll close out the session for today.
Yeah, I think he'll put it back in the envelope, and he'll just kind of be like maybe like a concerned, slight confusion, slight concern, slight confusion, just kind of shaking his head, looking out the window at New York, blowing a big plume of cigar smoke out the window. Like, what have I gotten myself into?
All right, guys. Thanks for playing. Appreciate it.
That flew by.
Yeah.
Catch you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like you guys' interactions there on the train. That was pretty funny to me. This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.